Welcome to the Joyful Money Podcast. This is the place for ambitious leaders, experts, authors, speakers, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs who want to make a huge impact and build a life of wealth and abundance without the stress and overwhelm. I'm your host, Joy Rowland, certified money and business coach and creator of the Joyful Money program. Each week, we'll explore proven strategies to amplify your voice, build a memorable brand, and attract high-ticket clients without the hustle. From landing podcast guest interviews to hosting high-converting VIP workshops, you'll learn how to turn your story into consistent income and use your voice to attract people to you. So if you're ready to stop chasing clients and start having them come to you instead, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this exciting episode of the Joyful Money Podcast. I am excited to tell you about my special guest today. It's a treat. We have the amazing Audrey Faust. She is a financial coach for business owners, entrepreneurs, and she's going to share her wealth of knowledge with us on this episode. Welcome to the show, Audrey.
Hi, Joy. I'm so excited to be here and talk all things money with you today. That's my favorite topic, of course.
Yes, me too. I love talking about money, but unfortunately, for many people, money is a very touchy subject.
Mm,
So I'm so excited for us to dive into all of the topics we're going to be talking about today. So why don't you start by introducing yourself and telling us what you do?
sure, thank you. So, as I mentioned, my name is Audrey Faust. I am a financial coach for small businesses, and I work with women to identify any money mindset challenges they have and get rid of those, as well as strategies to understand the financial pieces of their business. Is what I like to say, Joy, is everybody gets into business, but no one teaches them the financial pieces, and it just comes along with it, right? And a lot of women don't understand it because they've never been taught it. It's not something that you generally get taught, and you have your own genius that you get to share with the world as a business owner, and yeah, these financial pieces come with it. So I like to empower women around them and make sure they understand all the pieces, because that's really what's going to help them grow and ultimately scale their business, is being able to make decisions on the financial information in their business.
Oh, wow. I love that so much. But I find that many people are so, I want to say, ashamed of their money situation, or they have some underlying thoughts or beliefs that have been holding them back in their businesses. But some people might say, oh, I know I want to make money. I know I want to create an incredible business. How do I reconcile the fact that you're now telling me that there are some underlying subconscious beliefs that are holding me back? So, can you speak to that, to those people who are like, oh my gosh, I don't think I understand what you mean by subconscious underlying beliefs?
Yeah, so I also went through a neuro coaching certification a few years back, and that's when I really started to understand the power that our subconscious has over us without us even knowing it. So we have over 80,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of those thoughts come from our subconscious. And our subconscious is running in the background. So if you think about brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, you don't really have to think about doing that. That's the magic of the subconscious. Once you repeat something over and over again, your brain likes to automate it and put it in the subconscious. But there's also some things in our subconscious that aren't supportive of us. And this is because a lot of times when we were younger, we were around a family or people that had these different beliefs around money specifically, right? So, for instance, um, maybe your family had a negative connotation around rich people, right? If they were struggling with money. Or, like, my mom used to always say to me, I work hard for my money. So my brain immediately interpreted that as to I have to work hard for my money, which there's nothing wrong with working hard. However, from personal experience, it can lead to burnout, right? So, and sometimes you get to work smarter and not harder, right? So that's really the key is let's work smarter and not harder and not burn ourselves out and ultimately say, oh my gosh, having my own business is just way too much work. I don't want to do this anymore. So those were put in there, like it or not, when we were young, because before the age of 7, our subconscious is like wide open and we believe anything and everything that we are told. Think about, Santa Claus, for instance, right? It took you a few years to realize, well, man, that doesn't quite make sense, right? But we don't always do that with our money beliefs, right? We're like, well, this is kind of what I grew up around. This is, whether it be a scarcity mindset or whatever it is, that's just the way it is. And then our mind just interprets it that way and makes it real. Whatever we believe, we make real, right? So hope that
Wow.
explains it.
Yeah, like this is so spot on. I just feel I was just feeling goosebumps as you were talking because just about 2 hours ago, I posted on my channels, my Instagram and Facebook, and I talked specifically about our money story being embedded by the age of 7. So as soon as
Oh,
she started talking, like I started having goosebumps, like, oh my gosh, like this is so
yes.
spot on. So I personally, I like everyone, I have a money story, whether positive or negative, but my money story was definitely embedded before the age of 7. And my dad, we were extremely poor, but my dad was so um I want to say hateful of rich people. Like he always said rich
Hmm.
people were bad, like
Right.
constantly, constantly. And that was how we grew up. And so, how do you help your clients to uncover all of the money blocks holding them back?
Well, I have a series of questions that I ask that identify whether or
Mhm.
not you have a belief. So, one of them, we're talking about rich people, so it's a very common one.
Mhm.
Um, And the media does us no favors, let me tell you what, because they are still embedding those same beliefs in us when we watch TV. So I have 5 questions that I ask. Well, actually, like 10 questions that I ask inside my course to identify if you have any mindset beliefs. But one in particular, I'll give you one, is rich people are. And the first word that comes to your mind, that's what's in your subconscious, right?
Mm.
And that was programmed there when you're young. Now, you may have worked on your conscious level to change your beliefs, but if you don't work at it at the subconscious level, it's always going to be there. So I'll give you a story. I did a talk in front of a community last summer, and somebody asked me. I gave them a few of the questions, and she came up that rich people are mean. Okay. And she's like, I've done a lot of work with this money stuff. I've done mantras. I've done manifestation stuff. And she goes, and I'll start the manifestation stuff and money will start coming in. And then all of a sudden it stops. She's like, or no, she says, all of a sudden I stop. I stop doing it. She goes, why do I stop doing it? I said, because you have that subconscious belief that rich people are mean. And it was like
Mhm.
this light bulb went off in her head. It was like, your subconscious, your brain does not want you to be rich because that to you equals mean. And you don't want to be mean. And
Mhm.
whether your word is greedy, selfish, mean, there are all kinds of words that come up when we ask that question. Um, so the way to reprogram that is to it takes repetition, as I mentioned in the beginning. You don't learn how to tie your shoes the first time you do it, right? It takes practice. So, in order to rewire your subconscious, you need to practice a new belief for 70 days.
Mhm.
But you also need to find evidence. So, I had another client who I can't remember the exact word. That she had rich people were greedy. And I said to her, Shayna is her name. I said, okay, Shayna, I'm like, and she couldn't believe that was in there because she's built a life where she's actually around a lot of wealthy people. Um, Her husband is actually a producer for a very famous singer. So she's around this whole world. And so she says, wow, I didn't even know that was in there. She's like, why is that in there? And she could identify back from her childhood. That's what she was taught. But the way to break that, like I said, you also need evidence. I'm like, can you think of anybody either that you admire as a person in the news or a celebrity, or somebody you know personally that is rich but is not greedy? And she goes, well, yeah, my best friend is very rich and he's not greedy at all. He's probably the most generous person I know. And I was like, well, there you go. You now have evidence of something of the opposite. And now all you need to do is reprogram it. That, I asked her to describe her best friend. Like she said, very generous. So she needs to, by flipping that belief to rich people are generous, and you don't have to write it. So I say, see it, say it, write it. Rich people are generous. But you do have to think about that evidence while you're see, say, and write it. So that way you do this for 10 weeks, every single day, 2 to 3 times a day, and you will rewrite the belief so you can get rid of it out of your subconscious. Now, it's been there for a long time, depending on what age you are. So sometimes it happens quicker, sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So I would just keep doing it until it doesn't cut. I say a minimum of 70 days because science has said that's how long it takes to rewire our neural pathways inside our brain.
Wow, this is so profound.
I just gave away all my secrets. No, I'm kidding.
Yes. And so, listeners, that's why you need to listen to this podcast because you get all of Audrey's amazing secrets, right? Yeah, like what you said is so profound, Audrey. And like when you mentioned about the media being one of the problems, like I just remember a couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas, on a particular Facebook group, people were just moaning about money, how money was tight and everything. But the minute someone posted in that same Facebook group to say, oh, 2024 has been her most amazing year yet, and she's made
Mm-hmm.
boatloads of money. The post, you needed to have seen the comments, almost like shaming her for
Yeah.
publicly saying how much she has made. And so my question in the group was, how come it's okay for people to moan about money and the post has thousands of
Yeah.
likes? And then when someone says 2024 was her best year yet, you guys start pulling her down. And so even though the media has a part to play, I feel like people as human beings as well
Mm-hmm.
they just hate people who are wealthy. So I
Yeah.
tend to encourage people to get in an environment where people nurture you and fuel your dreams, right? Don't be in
Yeah.
an environment where people pull you down. So thank you so much, Audrey, for mentioning that. So why do you think it's important for women to build wealth?
Well, I'm going to bring this, it gives them independence, right? So I'm going to bring this way back to when I was in my 20s. And inside my book, She Grows Rich, I talk about where I started. And it was, you know, at the poverty line. So what kind of shook me into reality, and I needed to do something, was let's see, I was in my almost 28. I was 28 when this happened. And I had 2 kids, and I didn't have a college degree at the time. I now have an accounting degree and an MBA, but at the time I didn't. And putting my 2 boys in daycare wasn't even an option for me because it just cost too much because I could not make enough to to make sense for me to put my kids in daycare. So I ended up taking a tax prep course, went and worked for a tax preparer. And my husband was starting his own business. And it was the first year I did my own tax return. And we had a total income. Now, this is in the US. I know you're not in the US, but so your rules may be a little different. But we had a total income of $24,000. And we had 2 kids and a house. And I was like, I don't even know how we like could afforded anything. But what had happened is the government has something in the U.S. here. It has something called an earned income tax credit, And that's for those people that are at the poverty line and they give you extra money back. Um, and I did my tax return, and at first I thought I did it wrong because I got this like huge refund, and I was like, "Wait, did I do it wrong? What's going on here?" And here I got this earned. I looked at it more closely, and I'm like, "Here I got this earned income tax credit," and I wasn't happy about it, Joy. I was upset. I was
Mm.
like, "This is where I am in life. I'm at the poverty line. Like, how did I get here?" And that was when I decided I knew I had to make a change. My mom was in a marriage to my father, and my father struggled with some mental illness, and she was very unhappy in her marriage. And I knew that, and it wasn't a great life for her. And she always said to me, you want to talk about programming your subconscious, is make sure you can support yourself, Audrey. Like, don't end up like me stuck in this marriage because I can't support myself. I don't have enough education. I don't, you know. Um, and that moment when I was like feeling all those feelings, her words like came rushing back to me. And although I was in a happy marriage and I'm still married to the same person, I was like, you don't know what could happen tomorrow. Like, you just you just don't know, right? So I was like, oh my God, I'm in the same place that my mom was.
Mm.
The same place that she warned me not to be in. And that's when I started making changes in my life and started going back to school, educating myself, and grew from there. And I share about that inside my book, as well as like I went from the poverty line, and I was able to now grow my wealth to over $2.5 million net worth. And so like, and it's a story of like, it's not a story, it's a how-to book, how to become a financial powerhouse is a subtitle. And it teaches you how to slowly build a financial life, as well as, like I said, I went back to school and all of that. But you don't have to go back to school. Like I know now, like I have my own business. I help plenty of business owners also succeed. Like there are other ways. That was the only way I knew back then. But yeah, I'm now in a place like you don't want to be stuck in a marriage, right? That you're financially dependent on. Like that's not healthy. So that's a long story there, but that's kind of where it all started.
Oh, I love this so much. I love your story. I know you said it's a how to, it's definitely a how to, but listeners can see for real life how someone can transform their life, how you went from being on the poverty line to building wealth for yourself and your family. Because many people think it's a stroke of luck. Like
Mm,
people who have money, they are just lucky. And so listeners can go back and re-listen to your story, how you decided. You said you made a decision. And
yeah.
the programming that your mom had luckily instilled in you to say,
Hmm.
be independent, right? Has helped
Yeah.
you to create the life you have now. And I love that so much. Now, I want us to delve in deeper into your book. I love the book title, She Grows Rich. Tell us more about your book.
Thank you. Um, yes. So we talk about mindset in the book. We
Mm.
talk about your relationship with money. It's all about personal finance. I really don't get into business finance. That's my next book, by the way. But it's all about personal finance. And before I was coaching on business finance, I was coaching on personal finance. And then I got a lot of people that wanted business finance. Actually, in 2025, I'm going to figure out a way to combine the both. So, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So, yeah, so it's all about personal finance. Anybody can read it. I mean, yes, it's directed at women, but a man can surely read it and they'll get plenty of information out of it. I talk about investing. There's a whole chapter on how to invest in the mutual funds in the stock market. Um, Makes it so simple and easy. That's how I got started building my wealth as well. It talks about So I don't know how you feel about debt, but I think debt is a tool if you
Mhm.
use it in the right way. And I have what's called in the book a 7% rule. So if the interest rate is below 7%, then pay the minimum payment. You don't really need to rush to pay it off. If it's above 7%, then it's more advantageous to pay it off. Um, and the reason I say that is if you have extra money to pay down the one that's under 7%, you should take that money and invest it in a mutual fund because it's going to exponentially grow more. And I explain how that is and all of that in the book. Plus, I have what's called a book portal that goes with the book that has some calculators in it. It also has a money mindset training in it. Um, all of that is free. If you get the book, you get access to the portal. So, like, it's a lot of like how to, but there's also like relationship with money. There's also how we're wired. So I took the DISC. Are you familiar with DISC?
Yes.
DISC, yes. So DISC is a leadership tool, but you can use your DISC personality or DISC behavior. And I connected it to your money behavior. And I tested it out, and it is just like spot on of how that connects right to your money behavior. So there are tips based on your DISC of how you can, prevent what might be attractive to you based on your style, your disc style. So I go into all of that. So it kind of it's like the all in one. We talk about mindset, we talk about behavior, and we have tools to actually use to grow your wealth, like investing and the calculators and things like that. And
Wow.
I don't want to forget one more thing. I have a blueprint in there. Now, I have inside the book what's called a prosperity blueprint. And the blueprint, some people might want to call it a budget, but I don't like the word budget because it sounds so restrictive. So I call it a blueprint, and it's an easy, flexible way to put all of your financial information down on one piece of paper on one page, get a clear picture of it, without it getting too far in the weeds, right? Without like having to track every single item you purchase. Um, the people that I've taken through that like really love it because it's not your basic budget where you're like, oh, I spent $2 at, the dollar store and all of that. It's a different way of doing it. Um, I don't have enough time here to explain all of it, but grab the book. It's all in there.
Yes, grab the book. So, the book is available on Amazon, correct?
Correct. It is available now on Amazon. She Grows Rich, it's called.
It grows. Okay, so I'm gonna grab the link. I'm gonna add it in the description if you're watching on YouTube, and it's gonna be in the show notes if you're listening on Apple Podcast or anywhere else you get your podcast. I love this so much because your book embodies both the actual action, like which is the financial literacy, and the money mindset. I feel like the money mindset is a huge piece that most people miss, and I like that your book marries both of them together.
Thank you.
I'm definitely gonna grab a copy because now I cannot wait to read. Because
Good.
I want to read more about your story, how you went from the poverty line to where you are now. I think it's such an inspiring story, and
Thank
more
you.
people definitely need to listen and read. Okay, so Audrey, I want you to talk about how people can move from hustle into flow, because this is one of the points you talk about often, and I want my audience to learn how you help people go from hustle to flow.
Well, I work with a lot of business owners who um, think sometimes they think like, well, I'm sure you hear this a lot too. They have to do it all themselves, right? Like and as they grow, maybe in the beginning they do, but as they grow, um, they get to delegate some of it out and they get to get an amazing team. For instance, I worked with an interior designer named Kim, and when we first started working together, um, she had a design assistant like leaving. Um, she had two team members. She had a design assistant that was leaving, and then she had a virtual assistant that she was using as her project manager. Um, neither of which was really supporting her in the way she needed. So we kind of dove into the numbers, which you need to get in the numbers first. What I teach in my course and with my one-on-one clients is we create the same as the personal blueprint, we have a business blueprint. So let's see what you can do and what you can afford, right? Like with the way things are. So we actually realized that she could upgrade from an assistant to a junior designer, but for not that much more money, that would allow some of the things to be taken off her plate. And she could transition from the virtual assistant to a part-time in-house project manager that was really going to support her in a better way. Because she sold a lot of like furniture and things that came with her interior design, and she just had all these moving parts. When we did this, she was so much happier once she
Mm.
got that new team up and running and was like, she's selling more. She booked $1.7 million of business in 2024 for 2025. So it was like she had her entire year like mapped out for 20. She didn't even have to book any more business in 2025. But having this team in place, she now also knew her capacity that she could take on more because she had a better, more supportive team in place that was going to let her grow. And she understood her numbers that were there to support her. So, like, it all kind of flows together. When you're trying to really grow and scale your business, it's really, really important to kind of know where you stand, but also like who's the best people to support you, even if it costs you a little bit more money. So, and let's see if you can afford that, or let's see how you can afford that. Maybe you need to sell one more thing, or to have this perfect team. But so, yeah.
Wow. I love that so much because many people might be very hesitant to like hire help in their businesses, but it might cost at the beginning, but it's going to pay off exponentially later. So I love how you've given us this story of this amazing client who has been able to book all of these amazing businesses for 2025 already. It's super, super cool. So Audrey, tell the audience, like they're so excited about what you're hearing. They want to learn what next. How can they work with you? I know you talked about your course and your one-on-one program. Can you tell us more about both?
So I recently launched the course because I was getting a lot of people that were not like at the six-figure mark yet, or they were just at the six-figure mark, but they really wanted to dive in and understand the mindset as well as the strategy of the numbers part of their business. And my one-on-one coaching is high ticket, so it was it was a bit of a struggle for them to be able to invest that in their business that's not quite at six figures yet, or not making a huge profit. Not that you have to make a huge profit. So that prompted me to develop the course. And they still get access to me in the course because I want them to then grow with me. And I also have a mastermind for six women business owners who are at the above the six figure mark. So that's one of the conditions to be in there, because I want this group of women that all connect together and understand. So when you're getting to six figures, I feel like you're still trying to figure out how to make money, right? Once you get to six figures, you're like, okay, I figured that out. Now I got to figure the rest out, right? Now I need to figure out how to scale. So the course is for anybody that still wants to learn all the financial pieces, the money mindset, and the strategy, as well as we dive into QuickBooks, which is a financial software, very familiar with how to do that, the course also tells you how to understand the financial reports that are inside your software. So there's all of those things inside the course at an affordable price. So that's kind of why the course was born, what it is. And then you also get, I do a once a month Q&A, and then I have a bookkeeper, an expert bookkeeper that does once a month Q&A. For right now, it's forever. The newer people coming into the course will get that forever. I'll probably end up going into a subscription model as it grows and becomes larger. But you still get access to me and be able to ask me questions, anything you get confused on or don't understand. But I've taken all my one-on-one clients through this exact process that's in the course, and that's how they get clarity and start really growing and understanding the financial pieces of their business. It's the exact pathway I take them through one-on-one. It's just broken down into little course segments.
Awesome. So I'm gonna grab all those links and add them in the description and the show notes. So you can get the course. Obviously, you everyone can get it right now. And if you want to work with Audrey one-on-one, Audrey, is it best to contact you or how do people work with you one-on-one?
Yes, so there, contact me directly. There's also, if you go right to my website, there's a discovery call link. And then I'll ask you a few questions to learn about your business before we get on a call, and then we'll get on a call together, and I'll tell you more about the one-on-one program as well as like see if that's a right fit for you. The one thing I don't like to do, Joy, is, I'll get people on where they are maybe just starting out, and their biggest problem right now is sales. It's not understanding the financial information. I'm not a sales coach. So, like, I'm not going to sell somebody something that isn't going to support them. That's just who I am. I want you to be successful. That's
Mm.
part of my own nature is I want my clients to be successful. I want them to come out as winners in the end and really be like, oh my God, this like changed my life. Like that's what lights me up. So I want to make sure it's a good fit. So that's where we get
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, that's super, super cool. And I think it's very important too, because there has to be a match, right? There has to be a
Hmm.
needs match from the client side as well as from you, the coach side. So I love that so much. So, Audrey, I know we are past time, but I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today. So,
Me too.
what do you want to leave the audience with? Like, someone is either at a crossroad in their business and they are struggling with their finances, they want to take it to the next level. What do you want to say to them today?
I think the biggest thing I hear, the biggest struggle I hear from women is when you're talking about their business finances is they don't like somebody said that. I'm trying to remember her exact words. It was hysterical. I started laughing. I was like, she goes, it's like we're given a calculus test without a calculator. So, it's like they don't even know what they don't know. They don't understand. They don't know how to do it. And, they're thrown into the financial pieces of their business. And it's like, I'm supposed to know this? Like, and they almost feel bad or guilty or ashamed at the fact that they don't understand. And the real reason is nobody ever taught you.
Mm.
So how would you know? And you're not supposed to know. And there's, they have this fear sometimes of like not doing it right or, getting in trouble with the government, the IRS, whatever. So, you know, educate yourself, whether it's working with me or, you know, getting a book or trying to understand that piece of your business. It's really going to serve you in the long run, um, as you grow your business and scale it.
Wow. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. Um, that you've not figured out your money situation yet. Is nothing to be ashamed of. So thank you so much, Audrey, for saying that because many times people are just ashamed. They don't want to talk about their money. They don't look at their money. They never log into their bank accounts. Like they just ignore and just keep their fingers crossed that everything will resolve. But I hope this episode has encouraged you today to just like Audrey just said, get the education and finally figure out your business finance and personal finance. Thank you so much, Audrey. It's been an absolute joy having you on the podcast. Again, please check the link in the show notes to grab the book, and also there'll be the links to the course as well as Audrey's calendar for one-on-one discovery calls. Thank you so much, Audrey.
Thank you, Joy. It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you have enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave me a review. Share this episode with a friend to spread the message of hope, abundance, and possibility. And if you're ready to take the next step to amplify your voice, attract premium clients, and create consistent income, head on over to my website, www.joyroland.com, to learn more about my Joyful Money program or grab one of my free resources. Remember, making money can be joyful, and your story is powerful. Until next time, keep showing up, sharing your voice, and building the business of your dreams. Your voice is your power. Sending you lots of love, joy, peace, and light. Bye for now.